Welcome to the I Do Wedding Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Nina Adio, a social media marketing expert specializing in the wedding industry. Each week, we'll explore the strategies, stories, and insider tips that help wedding professionals thrive. You'll hear solo episodes filled with actionable advice for social media and inspiring conversations with esteemed wedding industry guests. Thank you for tuning in and letting this podcast be a part of your day. Let's get started. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the I Do Wedding Marketing Podcast. My name is Nina Adio, the host of the podcast and the owner of I Do Wedding Marketing, but I have a very special guest with me today. And if you are in the wedding industry, then somehow, some way, you have crossed paths with Tayler Cusick-Hollman, whether it be her speaking events, speaking at Wedding Summit Series, she's going to be at Wedding MBA as Tailored Media and Design. Perhaps you've seen her at Wedding MBA or other events talking about Source Co., which is one of my favorite places to get really luxury stock photos for wedding pros. Or maybe recently you've been hearing about how she's created a marketing software for non-marketers with Enji. Either way, she has crossed your path, and now finally she's crossing ours on the I Do Wedding Marketing Podcast. Tayler, thank you so much for coming on and being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I think that might be my favorite intro ever.
No matter where you go, Tayler's there.
I'm here, just like popping out of the bushes.
Virtual, in person, she's everywhere. I mean, nationwide, right? I think you've been all over.
I have. I bopped around a lot this year. So I lived out of my duffel bag, my infamous duffel bag that Megan Ely was continually shocked that I could travel places with just a carry-on, including the one time I went to engage. And now that's our inside joke, is she'll text me photos when she's like patting herself on the back that she managed to travel with just a carry-on.
I think that needs to be a reel, right? Showing, what do I put in my travel duffel bag?
Totally.
Today we want to talk about time management for business owners, specifically wedding industry and creatives. But if there's someone to talk about it, right? Because 3 businesses, at least that we mentioned today, I'm sure you probably have more. 3 businesses speaking, right? You're not just doing the businesses, you speak about the businesses, you market the businesses, and you run the businesses. So if there's someone who knows a thing or two about time management, I think it's you.
Yeah, I am the epitome of the hat wearer, and I'm not gonna lie, I have the same chaotic life as a lot of people who are listening to this podcast. And yeah, I mean, over the last 10 years of me being self-employed and having my own businesses, I just sort of landed in a space where I had no other choice than to be as efficient as possible, because I say this to a lot of people, and they think it's pretty funny because it's true. If you have one business, it's pretty likely that you have like at least half of another one. Like at least you have half of another brand, or another revenue stream that doesn't fall under your main business. And when you're in that situation, it's not just a few more tasks that you need to do. It's almost like a hard like copy and paste on an entirely new and additional set of business things that you need to do. And so when that's the case, you can't just dibble dabble in, oh, maybe I'll do this today, oh, maybe I'll get to it later. Your days have to be really structured in order for you to get through all the things that you need to get through to push your business forward. So I have learned a lot. I also think that my therapist, she was like, Tayler, your hyper productivity is kind of like a symptom of anxiety. And I'm like, oh, I never thought of it that way. But so, if you are anything like me and hyper productive as a way of creating calm in your life, then I think you're also going to really enjoy our chat today.
Right. I think I would tell my therapist that could be worse. Like I could be on drugs. Instead, I'm hyper productive.
100%. I am not like drinking copious amounts of
Yeah,
alcohol
you
every
know.
day or doing, I mean, I know that I do kind of dangerous sports, but I'm not like being irresponsible with my body. I just do a lot every single day and can't sit still.
I kind of want to ask right away when somebody tells you they're overwhelmed, what's the first thing you want to know about what they're doing?
You know, I get that comment or sentiment said to me, toward me, at me all of the time from it doesn't matter what kind of business somebody has. If you own a business, it is extremely likely that you find yourself overwhelmed more often than not. And the sort of first question that I ask to someone who's saying that to me is exploring, well, how do I want to say this? Kind of like leading questions to help them realize that they've just bit off more than they can chew, right? I mean, my dad used to always tell us as kids, your eyes are bigger than your stomach. And I know that was in regards to like how much food we were putting on our dinner plates as children, but as business owners, we do that with the amount of things that we think we can accomplish on any given day throughout 1 week or 1 month. We constantly bite off more than we can chew. And when we do that, it puts us in a place where we start to feel, we start to feel twitchy, we start to feel anxious and overwhelmed and like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And it's not always a conscious choice that we're making, right? I honestly say this to my husband, who's one of my co-founders at Enji, all the time. I say, but the business demands this of me, right? And when I say those things, it's not untrue, right? Like your business does require that you do certain things on a regular cadence, and sometimes there are deadlines to it. But, when you think that that's the end all be all and you don't give yourself some sort of play to, stretch out timelines or just say, not now, I'll do it later, then you're just constantly feeling crushed by all the things you need to do. So that's why I really always want to lead things off with acknowledging that someone who's telling me that they're overwhelmed is likely a very driven person who wants forward progress for themselves, for their business. And that is often tied to that sort of like grabby, oh, I'll do all of these things, and then, puts them in the place where they're overwhelmed. So that's typically the first sort of, you know, Alice in Wonderland journey down a rabbit hole that I like to
Yeah.
go down when someone says that.
Because already I'm kind of feeling it because we're at Q4, end of the year goals are coming. And so I'm taking on more than I normally would because I say, well, I want to hit that goal. So what can we do to kind of stop ourselves from this? It could be a toxic behavior, right? If we're not saying no when we should.
Yeah, I mean, we all have to like tell ourselves to chill the F out sometimes. Like it's okay. But yeah, I have the same emotions about being in Q4. Like we have goals, we have like targets that we've set for how we'd like to close out the year. And so I think a lot of folks sit down and look at those numbers, whether it's how many clients they'd like to have booked, how many leads, how much in revenue or sales that they've brought in by the end of the year, whatever the number is. A lot of folks are getting into the habit of sort of reverse engineering their path to those numbers. And when you do that, you need to just give yourself more time than not. And also realize that sometimes those goals are like stretch goals, and that it's awesome if you do make it, but it's also not the end of the world if you don't, because it's not like the end of the year is this, final thing where you can't make any more money or you can't book any more clients after that, right? Like there's play to that. So the Q4 pressure cooker is real, and we all just have to do what we can and accept that we won't do it perfectly, and things won't happen on our timetable.
So here's what I want everyone listening to do who's feeling maybe a bit of anxiety about hitting whatever their client goal is for Q4 or their number goal. So do what Tayler just said. Have that goal. That's your stretch goal. That's your better goal. And then make one that's your best goal. Your good, your better, your best. Make a smaller goal. Still keep that one, but make another one too, and give yourself a little bit of that grace. And then let's talk about Tayler, because I know, both of us are marketers or marketeers at like a mouseketeer. Yes, but hey there. So sorry, that just took me on a whole new rabbit hole I want to go down of us introducing ourselves to the Mickey Mouse theme. Okay. We can hit our goals by marketing, but by marketing in advance, by having a marketing schedule, by devoting smaller chunks of time to marketing. And I know Enji is designed for that. So can you talk a bit about that, how we can market? Somebody listening today, this is going to come out probably late November. So somebody listening today can schedule for December at the end of November and let that handle their marketing goals.
Yeah, one of my new favorite ways of describing the importance of marketing consistently. And that's something that and Nina, I'm sure you're the same. You literally have built a business around people's inability to consistently market their business, right? My consulting business was the same. And it's just a huge problem. But when we're talking about consistency, the reason that every marketeer out there is just beating you over the head with this message is because marketing is like farming. And if you take that analogy and you think of, okay, well, if I was a farmer, even if you're the most urban person, I have no green thumb, still just play a little game with me and imagine.
I saw the look on my face I've never heard this one, farming.
You're like, I live in the city. I live in Long Island.
Non-compute, no.
Yeah. But I want you to imagine, right? Use your imagination, stretch your thoughts. But when you think of what a farmer has to do, they have to prep their land. They have to plant their seeds. Then they have to take care of those seeds for a pretty long time. And also they have to take care of those seeds through a lot of hardship, right? The weather can be very unpredictable. You can be fighting animals that are trying to eat all of your things and bugs and all this stuff. And you have to put all of this consistent effort and give your plants consistent attention and care in order to have something to harvest in the end. And your marketing is the exact same thing, right? You are planting the seeds of future sales now, and you have to take care of them, right? Even when shit is so hard and you're like, Tayler, but oh my God, life is lifing. Yes, you can take a break, because if life lifes, I don't want you to be self-destructive. But that's why grit and resilience and determination are such important characteristics of being an entrepreneur, being a wedding professional, being someone who owns a business. Because if you can't take care of your marketing over time, you won't have a lead to sell into a booked client. And then, then what was all of this for, right? There are some people who get to just work for fun, but most of us have to work to pay some bills. And so, barring that you are one of the people who gets to work for fun, and good on you if you are, I really want people to, if you take nothing else from this conversation today, just kind of proverbially burn it across the front of your brain that marketing is like farming.
So let's say somebody's listening and they're like, I get it. I got to prep my marketing. What? They're like, now what? I'm at the computer. Yes. I'm ready. What do I do?
Yes. Tayler, thank you for the story time, but please let's get into brass tacks. It's totally 100%. I love brass tacks. So that's a fantastic follow-up question. So when you are looking at, let's just take booking season as an example, because, we are days away from engagement season starting at the time that we're recording this. And for every wedding professional, there's stuff in the water during engagement season that makes y'all go like, oh my God, I need to do my marketing now. So it's a great example. But when we look at engagement season, which, typically starts around Thanksgiving, give or take, a little bit, and then runs through Valentine's Day, your business isn't just like automatically ready to do the marketing that it needs to do start Thanksgiving, right? So there are all of these tasks and audits and things to create beforehand that if you do that, you'll really be setting yourself up for success through booking season. So, a couple examples would be going through and auditing your website now to make sure that your packages are what you want them to be, that you've updated your pricing, that your forms and buttons and links all work across your website, right? That your website is functional and that it's also saying what it needs to say.
Yeah, get rid of 2024 on there.
Oh
Update
yeah,
the
all
years.
the things, all the
Yeah.
things. So, prepping your website is a great example. And then also, spilling into some of the assets that you use to have consultations during the booking process, right? Like if you have information or pricing PDFs, like are those up to date, right? And then getting into the space where you're a super great and super smart hire is what am I going to do to stay super top of mind during engagement season and put my business in front of people on a regular basis? For most wedding professionals, that is being super active on social media. So what is it that you're going to be posting over the next few months? And you don't have to come up with the entire plan right now, but at least giving yourself some runway as, we're in that prep phase of booking season is how then when the questions start getting popped, you are ready to hit the ground running because you're not like, oh, I haven't my inquiry form is broken and I didn't know it. And then you're one of those people who's posting stories on Instagram saying that your inquiry form has been broken. I mean, we've all seen them. So those are just a few sort of brass tacks examples of what you can do right now to start prepping yourself for the marketing season moving forward.
Fantastic. This is so fun. Taylor and I are doing this normally when I do a podcast interview. I have questions lined out and they're prep, but we just came on to have fun and chat. And I'm kind of really loving it, especially with engagement season just coming right now. So I know you're also, like me, a fan of AI. And what are some do's and don'ts that people, because I know people think, oh, you can just write your captions with AI. It's going to be easy. It's going to save you time. It's not going to help you if you don't do it right. So what tips do you have for that?
Yes, artificial intelligence is one of the most fantastic new tools that we have because it's just an accelerant, right? It makes doing things go way faster. And so it's this really great tool that people should explore using because it is not a trend. It's something that's here to stay. And as time goes on, more and more people are going to start adopting it and using it. And if you choose to not, then if all those people are using tools that make them do things faster and you don't, then you're quite literally just going to get left behind. So I'm going to scare you a little bit into at least trying something that has AI in it to, expedite one part of, the 1,700 facets of your business that you have to keep, moving forward. But when it comes to what you need to do and what you shouldn't do, the first thing is you need to learn how to write good prompts because it's very simple. If you give any sort of AI a trash prompt, then it's going to give you trash at the output. And so we as, human operators of this new tool, we need to understand how to effectively ask it to do something that's actually worthwhile for us. So, there's some core things that you need to be able to communicate. Like you need to tell the AI what its role is, what its goal is, and that's you're a helpful AI marketing assistant, right? Like that kind of thing. But you also need to give it context and additional details to help it understand, like, okay, well, this is the sort of space that I'm asking you to do something in, and then tell it what do you want it to actually produce, right? Do you want it to produce a blog post? Do you want it to produce a bulleted list? Like, what is it? And so that's a very simplistic overview of how to write a good prompt, but I really encourage people to practice this new skill so that you become, efficient with it over time. But, in terms of what a few things that I really encourage people to do with it and what I don't want you to do. We'll start with the don't want you to do things. I don't want you to just copy and paste whatever the hell an AI produced for you, because the database, the data set of artificial intelligence, I just want you to think of it as the internet is its data set. And when you think about the internet, it's great and it's also the worst. Right? Like,
Convenient we're recording this on election day. The today is the internet at its worst.
100%. And so with the internet being artificial intelligence's data set, it is 100% capable of being incorrect. It is 100% capable of being biased, right? Just because that's what humans are, and the internet is just all the stuff that us humans have put on there. So it's super, super important that you always review the content that any sort of artificial intelligence produced for you, and you make sure that it is factually correct, and you make sure that it's not biased and like just spitting out just junk trash. So you definitely never want to do that. And if you want to Google the term AI hallucinations, then you can go down that rabbit hole on your own. But it's basically the term that we've started using to describe how humans just trust that the AI was correct. And it's like super not the case. So, but when it comes to something super, super helpful that you can do, one of the things that I have yet to meet a business owner who is like, I don't want my marketing to get any better. I'm cool with where it is right now. Everyone's like, how do I get people to understand my value? How do I connect with people better, right? All of these sort of intangible things. And one of the most basic functions of marketing is for us to meet people where they're at. But because wedding professionals are service-based businesses, you're extra pressed for time. And so you're not having a lot of conversations with your leads and your, past clients to really dig into like the psychology aspect of why they inquired with you, why they booked with you. But now that we have artificial intelligence, you can 100% go and like copy and paste a bunch of your inquiry emails, put them in a document, write up a prompt, and ask an AI, your favorite AI chatbot of choice, to analyze it for what are the reasons that people are reaching out to me, right? What are the common problems that people are having? What's motivating them, right? Like, because as a human, it would take us so long to read through all of these things and find those commonalities, but an AI can do that very quickly. And then on the flip side, you can do that with things like your reviews. Copy and paste a bunch of them into a single doc, prompt an AI to look for the common words and phrases that are showing up in your reviews. And then on both sides, you can take, on one side, you can take what you've learned about what's motivating people to reach out to you in particular. And then in your marketing, you can talk about their problems and their stresses and their overwhelming things that they're facing way more specifically than just finger quote, wedding planning is stressful. Right? Like they're going to read that everywhere. And then with what you learned from your reviews, then you can talk way more pointedly about the customer transformation that you're providing as a wedding professional, right? Like, my clients have gone from this to that, right? Like calming things down and making people feel like, oh, I'm in good hands. So that's what I would love for people to do, as something that you can actually go and do this afternoon if you want after listening to this episode. And then also my top tip for, like, please definitely don't do that.
That was really great. What a smart use of AI. And what I like about it is that then you can refer to it going forward, depending on what you're using, and say, based on what we've learned about my audience, can you help me write a carousel or a caption? And speaking of what you were saying, what not to do, I just want to give like a really clear example. If you were to go into, let's say, ChatGPT and say, write me a blog post on 10 wedding venues in Long Island and their amenities, I guarantee you're going to get incorrect information. It's just going to happen. So when I think, going almost more feeling based rather than the fact based for AI in the wedding industry could be a really good tip and kind of rule of thumb too, especially if you don't want to spend the time on fact checking it.
Totally. And it's just one of the things that is overlooked a lot in marketing, that it's very easy for people to talk about the features, right? Versus the benefits, right? And we're talking about like, oh, I am a wedding planner and you can book me for event management and it starts 60 days before your wedding date, right? Like, okay, but that's like only the very first gate that you have to pass through to get someone to actually want to inquire. So after they've learned that, okay, yes, you are a wedding planner in my area that does event management, and I can book you 60 days, or you'll start working with me 60 days before. The next thing they want to know is like all of the touchy-feely stuff, right? And it's just so hard for people to confidently communicate that part of their marketing messaging and their marketing story most of the time, because you just feel like you're making assumptions and pulling things out of thin air. But we don't have to do that. Like, we all sit on all of these emails and reviews that just essentially die in our email inbox or live on a marketplace, and we never like put them to use. And so this is one of those ways that you can put them to use.
Yeah, start bookmarking those reviews now or saving them in a certain folder. And then if you get time over the winter season, this is a great activity to do for that. Now, yeah. Speaking of time management, when I'm doing my scheduling, so I've got my ChatGPT open, I've got Later, which is how I schedule, I've got Google Drives with images, but I think you have something where I could probably have that all in one place. Can you tell me about Enji and
yes,
how it's changing lives?
That is one of the like core reasons that we're building a platform and not just a single tool, right? Like, a social media scheduler is a great single tool, but it really only has the ability to do a very limited scope of things. And for folks who have to do their own marketing and are not marketing experts, needing to do your marketing across, 5 or 6 different tabs makes it even more confusing for people. And just like needing to context switch a lot for some folks is really challenging. And so what we have built is very much inspired by the fact that my consulting clients used to hire me to create marketing strategies for them. And I would spend days sitting here at my desk, staring at my wall, and coming up with the most robust and wordy as shit marketing strategies for them, but then beautifully designing them into a 20-page PDF. And they would love them, but they would do nothing with them because it wasn't actionable. And so what we've built is a software that is founded in the concept of, you need a marketing strategy, right? You need to define the lane that you're working in. And then you need the tools to actually do the marketing strategy without having to go somewhere else. Because when you have that, you actually can start to understand the marketing machine that we all need to have as business owners. And so in the world of weddings and creative businesses, like pretty much everybody is using social media as a marketing channel. And so a few of the tools that we've built, we have a social media scheduler, we have an AI copywriter, and both of those things are integrated with our marketing calendar. So within one place, you can see your content schedule or your marketing routine. And then you can, in the same tab, without having to go anywhere else, start scheduling your content to go and auto post on the days that you want it to. So it is really helpful for creating a routine of this is what I'm going to do and when, and lather, rinse, repeating on that. And then actually getting those things done.
I'm just getting excited to dive in. I'm already like thinking like, so how long is I know you have a free trial for it. How long is the trial?
Yeah, so it's 14 days. You can get in there and for 2 weeks, like create your marketing strategy. That takes 5 minutes. Then go connect to your accounts and, start scheduling content. And, the only thing that I think we are changing this. I don't think we're really limiting the AI usage anymore. I mean, because it costs us money every time we run, like I'm getting super nerdy and jargony. Like every time we run a job, calling the AI servers, like it costs us money to do that. And so I'll have to double check and we'll put it in the show notes, whether or not Tayler was right about this. This is part of her own business. But yeah, we used to limit it to like, you could use it 3 times to try it out. But I think we're getting rid of that because we've recently made some really fun updates. So now you can use the AI copywriter to draft your post, but then you can also use it to help edit it, right? Like make changes, make it shorter, make it sound more. So it takes more, again, super nerdy and in the weeds. But if you guys are curious about what it's like to run a tech startup,
Yeah.
there's your tiny taste of it.
And then once you're past the trial, the AI is unlimited.
It's not like unlimited. You couldn't go and write a Moby Dick like size novel, but it is, you have enough credits to write like 10 blog posts and 60 social media captions, right? Like,
please, if
an
I'm above
obnoxious
that, stop me.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to do more than 60.
Exactly.
It's too
Like
much.
it's enough to cover a pretty obnoxious amount of content in a 30-day period.
Yeah.
And then every month it just re-ups. But there's no limit on how many pieces of or how many posts you can schedule per month with our social media scheduler. Like you could go buck wild with it and you could schedule way in advance. But one of the other really great things about Enji is the fact that, and it's tied to this time management piece because going back to the fact that a lot of folks bite off more than they can chew, it's very related to the fact that a lot of business owners don't know which parts of their marketing are the most impactful on their business. And so we've made it really easy for people to track their marketing metrics so that you can start to answer the question like, is my marketing working? And then over time, you can start to kill your darlings sometimes. I mean, I recently had to kill some darlings because the numbers don't lie. They're really brutally honest. But when you have numbers, then you just know like this isn't worth my time. And that helps you dial things down and get closer to the point where your marketing routine and your marketing strategy really fits the amount of time that you have to work on marketing versus trying to cram all of this extra stuff into what's probably a couple hours a week for the folks who are doing their own marketing. So, that's the other piece of this whole time management conversation with marketing that I don't think people talk about enough. It's like, okay, well, I could do all of these things, but I can't, right? Like I'm one human and as time passes, I need to get better and more refined with what I'm doing on the marketing side. And so the numbers are really the key to unlocking that.
Fantastic. What's your favorite feature of Enji?
Ooh, well, my favorite one, I guess, would be the one that is keeping me in check. And that would be the campaign tool. Because, there's the overall marketing strategy that defines what are you going to do on a regular basis. But then there are all these little pushes that, we do, right? Where we do a collaboration or we go to an event or, we invest in something that is only going to happen for a certain period of time. And so we have been doing a lot of collaborations and events, and that means like so many balls are in the air. Like I am talking to no fewer than like a dozen people all of the time that all need, it's not like one event, right? It's like I've had months where I have 4 events in the same month as a one-person marketing department, and they all have different tasks, and I'm traveling for them. And so the campaign tool has kept my to-do list super organized, but then also in an effort to know like, hey, in the future, is this worth the energy next time? We track targets and what we're actually getting from it, and then how much money we're spending, because those are the numbers that you need to know what your ROI was on the campaign. And so the campaign tool is currently my favorite because it has allowed me to like make seemingly impossible things happen in the red zone of life. And without it, balls would have been dropped, things would have slipped through the cracks, and then I would have been not holding up my end of the bargain in certain things. And if you know me, that's like the worst thing. I always want to be the person that people can depend on. So
Great. I'm sure people can use that for showcases they're going to, bridal events. So that's really a nice feature. I'm going to do a quick kind of bonus round with you, and then we'll let everybody know where they can find you and Enji and all the good things.
sweet.
So, the best weddings have.
Food.
Oh, yes, yes. All right. So, speaking of food, cocktail hour or Viennese dessert hour?
Ooh, dessert.
Sorry. The last book you read?
Oh, I'm someone who I am a collector of books, and I'm notorious for reading the first 30% of a book. I have been not. What's the book that's on? Oh, I can't even remember it. It's got a yellow cover. It's something about building software that builds habits, and I can't
Oh.
even remember what it's about. So, whoops.
When you're in the zone, what are you listening to?
Nothing.
Nothing. One of those.
No, because so much of my work is like really deep thought because I'm trying to make very abstract things tangible, or I'm writing, like copywriting, and it's very distracting to me because then I just want to do a dance break.
I don't know why it's not distracting for me putting on true crime, but it's not. And
I wish I was that
yeah.
way.
So where are you going to be speaking next, and where can people find you and Enji online?
So I will be I think this is coming out after Wedding MBA, but I will have been at Wedding MBA, and then 2025 is a big open field of possibilities,
Right.
folks.
Love it.
So,
Love it.
but I am a geriatric millennial, so you will find me on Instagram. Enji is on TikTok, but please don't try to have a conversation with me there because I don't check it frequently to have a conversation there. But our Instagram handle, I think, and our TikTok handle are Enji_co, and that's ENJI_CO. And that's our website. It's just Enji.co. And I would love for everyone to give it a try. The wedding industry is my home, and I love the fact that we've been able to create a version of Enji that is tailored to wedding professionals. So it's like all of the things in my marketing consultant brain are in there, we talk about booking season in there. We talk about, couples, and some of the questions that you get asked to get your strategy are very much about like your wedding business. So it's fun because I know that the greater world of marketing does not understand the world of weddings.
Yep.
But I very much do. So it's been an amazing experience to support so many wedding professionals with this software over the last year and a half.
Yeah, and they all trust you, and rightfully so, because you're someone that we all can trust. Unveiled by Deborah. She's been on a past episode of the
Yes.
podcast and mentioned on it how integral you were to her business. So that's just one account we've had here on the show. And I will be linking below not only the free trial for Enji, but then after that, it's just $29 a month, correct?
Yeah, it's $29 a month, folks. It is cheap.
Yep, cheap, cheap. So, and then I also will link Source Co, which is the stock photo site that Taylor's a part of, and I do have a coupon code for that. So I'll be putting that in the show notes. And between that and Enji, you're going to have everything you need to start marketing as soon as December. So we're really excited to get you all on the right track for this engagement season. Thank you so much for being here, Taylor, and everybody else. We'll see you on the next Wedding Wednesday.